You were never a real man, Marcus. You were never a real father, and everyone in this room knows it." Vanessa's voice rang out across the ballroom like a gunshot. 50 heads turned. 50 pairs of eyes locked onto Marcus Thompson, standing alone in the middle of the reunion he never should have attended. His ex-wife smiled at the crowd, wine glass raised, enjoying every second of his destruction. He couldn't keep a wife. He couldn't build a career. The only thing he could do was cling to our daughter because she was all he had left. Laughter rippled through the room. Someone whispered, "Damn." Someone else shook their head. Marcus felt his legs go numb. His throat closed. 10 years of building himself back up, and Vanessa had torn it all down in 30 seconds. He turned to leave, to run, to disappear. Then a hand slipped through his arm. A woman's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Honey, I've been looking everywhere for you." Marcus turned. Victoria Cole, his billionaire boss, stood beside him in a black dress, her arm linked through his like they had arrived together. And everything satisfying. Satisfying that satisfying happened next changed his life forever. Comment the city you're watching from, so I can see how far this story has traveled. 3 weeks earlier, Marcus Thompson's life was a straight line. Wake up at 5:47 a.m. Shower, dress, walk to Maya's room, shake her shoulder gently. "Baby girl, time to get up." Maya groaned and pulled the blanket over her head. 5 more minutes. "You said that 10 minutes ago." "I lied." Marcus smiled despite himself. 9 years old and already a negotiator. She got that from her mother. He pushed the thought away before it could settle. Pancakes or eggs? Maya's head emerged from the blanket. Pancakes, with chocolate chips. "You had chocolate chips yesterday, and I want them again today. That's called consistency, Daddy." Marcus laughed. "Get dressed. Pancakes in 15. He walked to the kitchen and started pulling ingredients from the cabinet. Flour, baking powder, milk. The movements were automatic now. 4 years of the same routine had carved grooves into his muscles, his brain, his soul. Some people called it boring. Marcus called it survival. The envelope was sitting on the counter when he turned around. Cream-colored. Expensive paper. His name typed in elegant black letters across the front. He hadn't noticed it yesterday. Or maybe he had, and his brain had refused to register it. Marcus picked it up, felt the weight of it, knew exactly what it was without opening it. He should throw it away, toss it in the trash, and forget it existed. Nothing good waited for him inside that envelope. Nothing but memories he had spent years trying to bury. What's that? Maya appeared in the kitchen doorway, still in her pajamas, hair sticking up in 12 different directions. "Nothing. Go get dressed." "It looks fancy." She walked over and tried to grab it. "Is it a party invitation?" Marcus held it above her reach. "Maya, clothes. Now." "You're being weird about it. That means it's interesting." She jumped for the envelope. "Let me see. It's just a reunion from my college. Nothing important." Maya stopped jumping. Her face changed. That look she got when she was thinking hard about something. "A reunion, like you'd see all your old friends." "Something like that." "Would you see Mom?" The question hit Marcus in the chest. He lowered the envelope slowly. "Maybe. We went to the same school." Maya was quiet for a moment. Then, "Are you going to go?" "No." "Why not?" "Because I have responsibilities. I have you. I have work. I can't just run off to parties." "It's one night, Daddy." "Maya. You never do anything fun anymore." The words came out fast, like she had been holding them back for a while. "You just work and take care of me. That's all you do. Every single day." "That's my job. I'm your father." "I know. But..." She looked down at her feet. "Don't you ever want to do something just for you?" Marcus didn't answer. He couldn't, because the truth was too heavy to speak out loud. The truth was that he had forgotten what he wanted. Somewhere along the way, in the chaos of the divorce and the custody battle and the rebuilding, Marcus Thompson had stopped being a person and started being a function, a role, a father, an employee, a provider. But not a man, not anymore. Maya looked up at him with those big, serious eyes. "I think you should go," she said quietly. "I think you need to." Dade. The office was quiet when Marcus arrived. Cole Enterprises occupied floors 40 through 45 of the Meridian Tower. Glass and steel and money. Marcus had worked there for 4 years, processing schedules and managing calendars and making sure the machine ran smoothly. It wasn't the life he had imagined for himself in college. Back then, he had dreams. Big dreams. He was going to start his own business, build something from nothing, prove that a black kid from the South Side could make it in a world that had been designed to keep him out. Then Vanessa happened. Then Maya happened. Then the divorce happened. And somewhere in all that happening, the dreams had quietly died. Marcus sat at his desk and stared at his computer screen. The reunion invitation was tucked into his jacket pocket. He could feel it there, pressing against his chest like a second heartbeat. Marcus. He looked up. Victoria Cole was standing in the doorway of her office. She was tall, late 40s, silver-streaked hair that she refused to dye, eyes that missed nothing. Victoria Cole was worth somewhere north of $3 billion, but she dressed like a woman who had better things to think about than clothes. "Got a minute?" she asked. "Of course." Marcus followed her into the corner office, floor-to-ceiling windows. A desk covered in papers and contracts. No personal photos. No decorations. Victoria Cole didn't believe in clutter. "I need to go over next week's schedule," she said, settling into her chair. "We have the Henderson meeting on Tuesday, the board presentation Thursday, and—" "Actually," Marcus interrupted, "I was hoping to take a half day on Saturday, if that's possible." Victoria looked up. "Saturday? There's a college reunion at the Grand Meridian." Marcus felt stupid saying it out loud. A reunion. Like he was some frat boy trying to relive his glory days. "It's not important. I can skip it if—" "The Grand Meridian." Victoria's expression shifted slightly. Something Marcus couldn't read. "I'll be there Saturday evening. Business dinner." "Oh, that's a coincidence, isn't it?" Victoria turned back to her papers. "Take the half day. If you need anything while you're there, let me know." Marcus blinked. "Thank you. I appreciate it." Victoria waved her hand dismissively. "Family comes first. You've never asked for time off in 4 years. I think you've earned one evening." Marcus stood to leave. At the door, he paused. "Ms. Cole?" "Yes. Why did you hire me?" The question surprised both of them. Marcus wasn't sure where it had come from, but now that it was out, he needed to know. Victoria looked at him for a long moment, then she leaned back in her chair. "Because you showed up to the interview with a baby carrier," she said. "Maya was 6 months old. You apologized and said the babysitter had canceled. I asked if you wanted to reschedule." She paused. "Do you remember what you said?" Marcus remembered. He had been terrified, desperate, sure that he had blown his only chance at a decent job. "I said no. I said I could do the interview and take care of her at the same time. I said that was what my life looked like now, and if you couldn't accept that this wasn't the right fit." Victoria nodded. "Most people would have made excuses. Most people would have tried to hide the baby, pretend they didn't have responsibilities. You didn't. You walked into my office with an infant on your chest and looked me in the eye and said, 'This is who I am.'" She smiled just slightly. "That's why I hired you. Because you were honest. Because you showed up." Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. Something he hadn't realized was tight. "Thank you," he said, "for telling me that. Go to your reunion, Marcus. Maybe it's time you remembered who you used to be." Saturday came too fast. Marcus dropped Maya off at his sister's apartment at 4 o'clock. Denise met him at the door with a look that said she knew exactly how nervous he was. "Stop fidgeting," she said. "You look like you're going to a job interview." "I feel like I'm going to a funeral. Mine." "Drama queen." Denise pulled him into a hug. "You're going to be fine. Go have a drink, talk to some people, and come home. 2 hours tops." "What if Vanessa is there?" Denise's expression hardened. "Then you smile, nod, and walk the other way. She can't hurt you anymore, Marcus. You're not the same person you were when you were married to her." "What if I am?" "You're not." Denise squeezed his arm. "You're better, stronger. She tried to break you and you survived. That's more than most people can say." Maya appeared behind Denise, her overnight bag slung over her shoulder. "Daddy." She ran over and hugged him tight. "Have fun, and remember, you're brave." Marcus held his daughter and tried to believe it. The Grand Meridian Hotel was old money pretending to be older money. Red brick, brass fixtures, a lobby that smelled like leather and history. Marcus stood outside for 30 seconds, watching other guests stream through the revolving doors. White faces, expensive suits, easy laughter. He was the only black man on the sidewalk. Some things never changed. Marcus took a breath and walked inside. The ballroom was already half full when he arrived. Clusters of people holding wine glasses, laughing too loud, pretending they hadn't spent the last decade becoming strangers to each other. Marcus grabbed a drink from the bar and found a spot near the back wall. The plan was simple. 1 hour minimal conversation, then escape. He would show his face, prove to himself that he could do it, and go home. That was the plan. Then he saw her. Vanessa was standing near the center of the room, surrounded by her old crew. Jessica, Claire, Amy. They were laughing at something she had said, leaning in like she was the most fascinating person in the world. She looked good. Expensive dress. Perfect hair. The kind of confidence that came from always getting what you wanted. Marcus tried to turn away, tried to disappear into the crowd, but Vanessa had already seen him. Their eyes met across the room. She smiled. That smile. The one that had once made him feel chosen, special, loved. The one that now made his stomach turn. She said something to her friends. They all turned to look at him. Then Vanessa started walking. Marcus stood frozen as she approached. Every step she took felt like a countdown. Well, well, well. Vanessa stopped in front of him, close enough that he could smell her perfume. "Marcus Thompson, I honestly didn't think you'd show up." "Vanessa, you look..." She tilted her head, examining him. "Tired. Really tired. Is everything okay?" "I'm fine." "Are you sure, because you look like you haven't slept in about 10 years? I have a 9-year-old. Sleep is a luxury." Vanessa's smile widened. "Right. The single dad thing. Still doing that, huh? Still raising our daughter, yes." "Your daughter." Vanessa's voice sharpened. "Let's be clear about that. She's your daughter. I just happened to give birth to her." Marcus felt something crack inside him, but he kept his voice steady. "Is that how you see it?" "That's how it is." Vanessa took a sip of her wine. "You wanted custody. You got custody. Don't pretend like I abandoned her. I made a choice. I chose my career. You chose whatever this is. I chose to be a father. No, you chose to hide." Vanessa stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You couldn't make it in the real world, so you retreated into parenthood. Used Maya as an excuse to stop trying, stop growing, stop being anything more than mediocre." The words hit like punches, each one landing exactly where it hurt most. "That's not true," Marcus said. "Isn't it?" Vanessa turned to her friends, raising her voice so others could hear. "Ladies, you remember Marcus, right? My ex-husband. The one who couldn't quite figure out how to be a man." Jessica shifted uncomfortably. Claire looked at the floor. Amy watched with wide eyes. "He was always like this," Vanessa continued. "Passive, scared, waiting for someone else to make decisions for him. I spent 5 years trying to push him to be better, and you know what? I got nothing, just excuses. Vanessa, stop. Why am I saying something untrue? She turned back to Marcus, her eyes cold. You were a terrible husband. You were a terrible partner. And now you're raising my daughter to be just as mediocre as you are. The room had gone quiet. Marcus could feel eyes on him from every direction, and people he hadn't spoken to in years, watching him be destroyed by the woman he had once loved. Our daughter is not mediocre, he said, his voice breaking slightly. Not yet, but give it time. Vanessa smiled. She's got your genes after all. Someone in the crowd laughed, then someone else. The sound spread like poison. Marcus felt his hands trembling. His vision blurred at the edges. 10 years of building himself back up, of convincing himself he was enough, of showing up every single day for his daughter, and Vanessa had demolished it all in 60 seconds. He should say something. Defend himself. Fight back. But what could he say that would matter? What words could undo the damage she had already done? Marcus turned to leave. That was when the hand slipped through his arm. A woman's voice, clear and calm, cut through the murmuring crowd. Honey, I've been looking everywhere for you. Marcus turned. Victoria Cole stood beside him, her arm linked through his like they had arrived together. She was wearing a black dress that probably cost more than his car. Her expression was serene, almost bored, as if she had just walked into the most ordinary conversation in the world. She looked at Marcus first. Her eyes softened for just a moment, something he had never seen at the office. Then she turned to face Vanessa. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. Vanessa's smile flickered. Her eyes moved from Marcus to Victoria, trying to calculate what she was seeing. And you are? Vanessa asked. Victoria extended her hand. Victoria Cole. 2 words. But the effect was immediate. Jessica's mouth fell open. Claire nearly dropped her wine glass. Amy took a step backward. Everyone in the city knew that name. Victoria Cole, CEO of Cole Enterprises, one of the wealthiest women in the country. Vanessa's face went pale. Cole Enterprises, she repeated slowly. The Victoria Cole. Is there another one? Marcus watched his ex-wife struggle to process what was happening. For the first time in his life, Vanessa looked uncertain. Off balance. I didn't realize you two knew each other, Vanessa said carefully. Victoria smiled. It was not a warm smile. Marcus and I are very close, she said. Close enough that I know exactly what kind of man he is. She paused, letting the words sink in. And close enough that I don't appreciate hearing him slandered by someone who clearly doesn't know him at all. Vanessa's jaw tightened. I think I know my own ex-husband. Do you? Victoria tilted her head. Because the man I know shows up to work every day on time. He's never missed a deadline in 4 years. When his daughter was sick, he asked for flexibility and then worked late for 2 weeks to make up the time without a single complaint. She stepped closer to Vanessa, her voice dropping slightly. The man I know turned down a promotion because it would have meant longer hours away from his child. He chose his daughter over money, over status, over everything your world seems to value. And you stand here calling him mediocre. Vanessa opened her mouth to respond. Nothing came out. I've built a $3 billion company, Victoria continued. I've met thousands of people, executives, politicians, celebrities. Most of them are exactly what they appear to be, selfish, ambitious, desperate for validation. She looked at Marcus, her expression softening. Marcus Thompson is one of the few genuinely good men I have ever known. He is loyal, he is honest, he is present, and he has never once asked for recognition for any of it. She turned back to Vanessa. So please, enlighten me. What exactly have you built that gives you the right to tear him down? The ballroom was silent. 50 people stood frozen, watching the confrontation unfold. Vanessa's face had gone from pale to red. Her hands were shaking slightly around her wine glass. This is none of your business, she managed. You made it everyone's business when you decided to humiliate him in public. Victoria's voice was ice. I simply decided to respond in kind. Jessica muttered something about needing to find the restroom. Claire suddenly remembered she needed another drink. Amy backed away, slowly disappearing into the crowd. Within seconds, Vanessa was standing alone. Victoria turned to Marcus, her arm still linked through his. Are you ready to leave? Marcus found his voice. Yes. Victoria nodded and began walking toward the exit. Marcus moved with her, his legs operating on autopilot. Behind them, Vanessa stood frozen in the middle of the ballroom, surrounded by whispers and stares and the ruins of her own performance. Marcus didn't look back. The hallway outside the ballroom was quiet. Marcus walked beside Victoria, his mind still spinning. The click of her heels echoed against the marble floor. His own footsteps sounded hollow, distant, like they belonged to someone else. They stopped near a window overlooking the city. Victoria released his arm and turned to face him. Breathe, she said. Marcus realized he had been holding his breath. He let it out slowly, his chest shaking. What just happened? His voice came out rough. You were being publicly humiliated by your ex-wife. I intervened. Why? Victoria studied him for a moment. Her expression was difficult to read, the same calm, measured look she wore in board meetings. Because I was walking past the ballroom after my dinner. I saw you through the doorway. I saw what she was doing. She paused. And I don't like bullies. Marcus leaned against the wall. His legs felt weak. You didn't have to do that. No, I didn't. People are going to talk. They're going to think we're... Let them think whatever they want. Victoria's voice was sharp, final. I stopped caring about gossip a long time ago. I suggest you do the same. Marcus looked at her, really looked at her. In 4 years of working together, he had never seen this side of Victoria Cole. At the office, she was all business, efficient, professional, distant. But the woman standing in front of him now was different. Fierce, protective, human. Why did you call me honey? He asked. Victoria's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. Because it was the most effective way to shift the power dynamic. Your ex-wife was attacking you as a failed man, a failed husband. By implying we were together, I took away her narrative. Suddenly, you weren't a lonely single father. You were a man with options. A man who had moved on to someone more successful than she could ever be. Marcus shook his head slowly. You thought all of that in 2 seconds. I've been negotiating hostile situations for 30 years. Reading a room and finding the pressure point is what I do. That wasn't just strategy. Marcus met her eyes. The things you said about me, about showing up, about turning down the promotion. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Those things were true, she said finally. I simply stated facts. The strategy was in the timing and delivery. The content was honest. You said I was one of the few genuinely good men you've ever known. Also true. Marcus didn't know how to respond to that. He had spent so many years feeling invisible, feeling like his sacrifices went unnoticed, that hearing someone acknowledge them, especially someone like Victoria Cole, felt almost unreal. I don't know what to say, he admitted. You don't have to say anything. Victoria checked her watch. Do you have somewhere to be? I should pick up my daughter. She's at my sister's. What time? No specific time. Denise said she could keep her overnight if needed. Victoria nodded. Then let's get a drink. You look like you could use one. Marcus hesitated. Ms. Cole. Victoria. I think we're past formalities at this point. Victoria. The name felt strange in his mouth. Are you sure that's a good idea? People from the reunion might see us. Good. Let them see. Victoria started walking toward the hotel bar. Let them wonder. Let your ex-wife spend the rest of the night trying to figure out what's happening. Marcus stood there for a moment, watching her walk away. Everything about this night had gone sideways. He had expected humiliation, and he had gotten it. But he hadn't expected rescue. He hadn't expected Victoria Cole. He followed her to the bar. The hotel bar was dimly lit, all dark wood and leather seats. Victoria chose a booth in the corner, away from the main crowd. A waiter appeared almost instantly, the kind of service that came with looking like you had money. "Whiskey neat," Victoria said. "Top shelf, whatever's best." The waiter turned to Marcus. "Same," Marcus said. He didn't usually drink whiskey, but he wasn't about to order a beer while sitting across from a billionaire. The waiter disappeared. Victoria settled back in her seat and studied Marcus with those sharp, dark eyes. "Tell me about your marriage." The request caught Marcus off guard. "What, your marriage to Vanessa? I want to understand what happened." "Why?" "Because I just publicly defended you against a woman I've never met. I'd like to know if my assessment was accurate." Marcus ran a hand over his face. The exhaustion was starting to hit. The adrenaline from the confrontation was fading, leaving behind something heavy and hollow. "We met in college," he said slowly. "Senior year. She was smart, ambitious, beautiful. I was—" He paused, searching for the right word. "I was nobody. A black kid from the South Side who had clawed his way into a good school on scholarships and determination. And she chose you." "She chose me." Marcus shook his head. "I still don't know why. I wasn't rich. I wasn't connected. I was just there, working hard, showing up. Some women find that attractive. Vanessa found it useful." The bitterness crept into his voice before he could stop it. She needed someone stable, someone who wouldn't compete with her, someone who would support her ambitions without getting in the way. The waiter returned with their drinks. Marcus took a long sip, feeling the whiskey burn down his throat. "We got married right after graduation," he continued. "I thought we were building something together, a partnership. But Vanessa had different ideas. She wanted to climb, fast, and I was supposed to hold the ladder." "What did you want?" Marcus considered the question. It had been so long since anyone had asked him that. "I wanted a family," he said quietly. "I wanted what I never had growing up. 2 parents, a stable home, kids who knew they were loved." He took another sip. "When Maya was born, I thought that was finally happening. I thought Vanessa and I were on the same page." "You weren't. Not even close." Marcus set down his glass. "Maya was 3 months old when Vanessa told me she wanted to go back to work full-time. I said, 'Okay, we'll figure out childcare.' She said no, she wanted to relocate for a promotion, move across the country, put Maya in full-time daycare. And you disagreed. I asked if we could wait. Just a few years, until Maya was old enough for school. Vanessa said no. She said her career couldn't wait. She said I was holding her back." Victoria was quiet, listening. "We fought about it for months," Marcus said. "Every conversation turned into an argument. Every argument turned into accusations. She said I was jealous of her success. I said she was abandoning our daughter. We stopped talking about anything except logistics, who would pick up Maya, who would feed her, who would put her to bed." "Who did those things?" Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I did. Every time. Vanessa was always working late, always traveling, always too busy. I was the one who changed diapers at 3 a.m. I was the one who took Maya to doctor's appointments. I was the one who sang her to sleep. And Vanessa was building her empire." Marcus finished his whiskey. "One day she came home and told me she had accepted a job in Atlanta. She was leaving in 2 weeks. She said I could come with her or stay behind, but either way, she was going." "What about Maya?" "That's what I asked." Marcus's voice cracked slightly. "I said, what about our daughter? And Vanessa looked at me and said, she'll be fine. Kids are resilient." Victoria's expression didn't change, but something shifted behind her eyes. "I told her I wasn't going," Marcus said. "I told her Maya needed stability, not another upheaval. Vanessa said I was being selfish. I said she was being a stranger to her own child. And that was it. That was the end. She left. She left. Filed for divorce from Atlanta. Didn't contest custody because she didn't want the responsibility. I got Maya, she got her freedom, and we both pretended it was what we wanted. The waiter appeared and refilled their glasses without being asked. Marcus took another drink smaller this time. The worst part, he said, is that she was right about some of it. Victoria raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I did give up on my ambitions. I did retreat into parenthood. Not because I was scared, but because Maya needed me. She needed one parent who was actually present. One person who showed up every day and didn't treat her like an inconvenience. He stared into his glass. But somewhere along the way, I forgot how to be anything else. You forgot how to be a person outside of being a father. Yeah. Marcus looked up at her. That's exactly it. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Then she leaned forward, her elbows resting on the table. I'm going to tell you something I don't tell many people. Marcus waited. I don't have children, Victoria said. Not because I couldn't, because I chose not to. I was 28 when I started Coal Enterprises. I was working 18-hour days, 7 days a week. There was no room in my life for a family. Do you regret it? Sometimes. Victoria's voice was matter-of-fact, not sad. I've built something significant. I've employed thousands of people. I've created wealth that will outlast me. But I've also missed things, experiences, connections. She paused. I've watched men like you sacrifice their careers for their children, and I've wondered if they made the smarter choice. You think giving up my ambitions was smart? I think your daughter is going to grow up knowing her father loved her enough to be there. That's not nothing, Marcus. That's not nothing at all. Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. Something that had been tight for years. Victoria, why are you telling me this? Because I watched your ex-wife try to convince you that your choices were failures. And I want you to understand something. Victoria held his gaze. The things that Vanessa called weaknesses. Those are the things that make you valuable. Loyalty, consistency, being present. Those qualities are rare. Most people are too busy chasing success to actually be good. You're one of the most successful people in the country. And I know exactly how much I've sacrificed to get here. Victoria picked up her glass. I'm not saying your path was better or worse than mine. I'm saying it was different. And different isn't the same as wrong. They sat in silence for a moment, the noise of the bar washing over them. What happens now? Marcus asked. What do you mean? Tomorrow, at work. People are going to have questions. Victoria shrugged. Let them ask. I'll handle it. What will you tell them? The truth. That I encountered you at a social event and intervened when I witnessed inappropriate behavior. She smiled slightly. I won't mention the honey part unless directly asked. Marcus couldn't help but laugh. It felt strange laughing after everything that had happened, but also good, like releasing pressure. Thank you, he said. For what you did back there. I don't think I've really said that yet. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. Marcus met her eyes. You didn't have to get involved. You could have walked past and pretended you didn't see anything. Most people would have. I'm not most people. No, you're not. Victoria finished her drink and signaled for the check. Marcus, I'm going to say something that might sound strange coming from your employer. He waited. You're allowed to have a life outside of work and parenthood. You're allowed to want things for yourself. And you're allowed to take up space in the world without apologizing for it. The words landed somewhere deep. I'm not sure I know how to do that anymore, Marcus admitted. Then learn. Victoria signed the check without looking at the total. You have time. Maya won't be 9 forever. Eventually she'll grow up and need you less. And when that happens, you should have something left of yourself. She stood and gathered her purse. Can I give you a ride home? My car is outside. Marcus hesitated. A month ago, he would have said no immediately. The boundary between boss and employee was clear. But tonight, everything had changed. The boundaries had blurred in ways he didn't fully understand. "I drove," he said. "My car's in the garage. Then I'll walk you there." They left the bar together and made their way through the hotel lobby. A few people glanced their way, but no one from the reunion was in sight. Small mercies. The parking garage was cold and empty. Marcus's car, a 10-year-old Honda that he kept running through sheer determination, sat alone on the third level. Victoria looked at it and said nothing. No judgment, no pity. "Marcus," he turned to face her. "What your ex-wife said in there about Maya growing up to resent you, about you being mediocre." "Yeah, she's wrong." Victoria's voice was firm. "I've seen mediocre. I've employed mediocre. You're not it. You're something else entirely." "What's that?" "Steady." Victoria considered the word. In a world full of people who quit when things get hard, you stayed. You held on. You kept showing up. She paused. "That's not mediocre. That's rare." Marcus didn't trust his voice, so he just nodded. Victoria took a step back. "Go home. Get some rest. I'll see you Tuesday." "Tuesday. I'm giving you Monday off. You've earned it." "Victoria, you don't have to." "I'm not asking." She turned and started walking toward the elevator. "Take the day. Spend it with your daughter. That's an order." Marcus watched her go, her figure growing smaller in the dim light of the garage. At the elevator, she paused and looked back. "Marcus." "Yeah." "The things I said tonight. About you being a good man. About your qualities being valuable." She held his gaze across the distance. "I meant every word." The elevator doors opened. Victoria stepped inside and disappeared. Marcus stood alone in the parking garage, his keys in his hand, his mind reeling. An hour ago, he had been standing in a ballroom, being publicly destroyed by the woman he had once loved. Now he was here, having just had drinks with one of the most powerful women in the country, hearing her tell him he was rare. He was valuable. He was enough. It didn't make sense. None of it made sense. He got into his car and sat behind the wheel without starting the engine. The silence pressed in around him. His phone buzzed. A text from Denise. "How did it go?" "Maya's asleep. She can stay the night if you need time." Marcus stared at the message. How did it go? He didn't even know how to begin answering that question. He typed back, "I'll tell you tomorrow. Everything's okay." Then he added, "Better than okay, actually, I think." He started the car and pulled out of the garage. The city lights blurred past as he drove through empty streets. His mind kept returning to Victoria's words. Different isn't the same as wrong. You're allowed to take up space in the world without apologizing for it. The things that Vanessa called weaknesses are the things that make you valuable. For so long, Marcus had measured himself against a standard he could never reach. Vanessa's standard. The world's standard. Success meant money, status, power. It meant climbing, achieving, winning. But what if that wasn't the only measure? What if there was another way to be valuable? Victoria Cole had built an empire. She was one of the most successful people Marcus had ever met. And she had looked at him, a senior secretary, a single father, a man who had given up his dreams to raise his daughter, and told him he was rare. Either she was lying, or everything Marcus believed about himself was wrong. He didn't think Victoria Cole was a liar. Marcus pulled into the parking lot of his apartment building. The familiar sight of the brick facade, the flickering light near the entrance, the patch of grass that never quite got enough sun, it all looked different somehow. Not worse, just different. This was his life, small, unglamorous, built around routines and responsibilities. But it was his. He had chosen it. He had stayed when others would have run. That wasn't weakness. That was strength. Marcus got out of the car and walked toward his building. His phone buzzed again. A number he didn't recognize. A text message. "This is Victoria. I got your number from the employee directory. I hope that's not overstepping." Marcus stopped in the middle of the parking lot. "I wanted to make sure you got home safely. And to say one more thing." He waited, watching the 3 dots appear on his screen. "You asked me why I did what I did tonight. I told you I don't like bullies, and that's true. But there's another reason I didn't mention. The dots disappeared, then reappeared. I've watched you for 4 years, Marcus. The way you work, the way you treat people, the way you talk about your daughter. I've seen the man you are when you think no one is watching. Another pause. Someone should have defended you a long time ago. I'm sorry it took this long. Good night. Marcus read the messages 3 times. Then he read them again. His hands were shaking slightly. Not from fear, from something else entirely. He walked into his building, climbed the stairs to his apartment, and unlocked the door. The space was quiet, empty still. Maya's toys were scattered on the living room floor. A drawing she had made last week was taped to the refrigerator. Marcus stood in the doorway of his own home and felt for the first time in years like he belonged somewhere. Not because anything had changed, not because he had suddenly become successful or important or worthy of attention, but because someone had seen him, really seen him, and told him that what they saw was enough. He walked to the couch and sat down heavily. The exhaustion hit all at once, the emotional toll of the evening catching up with him. Tomorrow he would pick up Maya. He would tell Denise about the reunion, leaving out the parts he couldn't explain. He would go back to his routine, his responsibilities, his life. But something was different now. Something had shifted. Marcus looked at his phone one more time at Victoria's messages still glowing on the screen. Someone should have defended you a long time ago. He didn't reply. He didn't know what to say. But he saved the number in his contacts, then set the phone on the coffee table and leaned back against the cushions. The ceiling was the same ceiling he stared at every night. The apartment was the same apartment he had lived in for 4 years. Nothing had physically changed. But Marcus Thompson felt for the first time in a very long time like maybe he wasn't as invisible as he thought. Maybe he never had been. Sunday morning arrived with pale light filtering through the curtains. Marcus woke on the couch, still in his clothes from the night before. His neck ached from the awkward angle. His mouth tasted like stale whiskey. For a moment, he thought the reunion had been a dream. Vanessa's words. Victoria's intervention. The conversation at the bar, all of it felt too surreal to be real. Then he saw his phone on the coffee table. The messages from Victoria still there. Not a dream. Marcus sat up slowly, rubbing his face. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. He had grown so accustomed to Maya's morning noise, her footsteps, her singing, her endless questions, that the silence felt wrong. He checked the time. 8:47 a.m. Denise would be making breakfast for Maya by now. Pancakes, probably. Maya had a way of convincing everyone to make her pancakes. Marcus showered, changed into fresh clothes, and made himself coffee. He stood at the kitchen window, looking out at the street below, trying to process everything that had happened. Vanessa's voice kept echoing in his head. You were never a real man. You were never a real father. But so did Victoria's. You're rare, you're valuable, you're enough. 2 women, 2 completely different assessments of who he was. One had tried to destroy him. The other had defended him without hesitation. Which one was telling the truth? Marcus finished his coffee and grabbed his keys. He needed to see his daughter. Denise opened the door before he could knock. You look like hell, she said. Good morning to you too. Come in. Maya's in the living room watching cartoons. Denise stepped aside to let him pass, then grabbed his arm. Wait. Before you go in there, tell me what happened. Marcus hesitated. It's complicated. Uncomplicated. You sent me a text at midnight saying things were better than okay. What does that mean? It means... Marcus searched for the right words. Vanessa was there. Denise's expression hardened. I figured. What did she do? She tried to humiliate me, in front of everyone. That bitch. Denise. What she is. She's always been a bitch. I've just been too polite to say it to your face. Denise crossed her arms. Tell me everything. Marcus gave her the short version. The confrontation in the ballroom, Vanessa's accusations, the laughter, the humiliation. Denise's face grew darker with every word. I'm going to kill her. she said when he finished. I'm going to drive to Atlanta and kill her. There's more. More? What else could she possibly? My boss showed up. Denise blinked. Your boss? Victoria Cole. She was at the hotel for a business dinner. She walked past the ballroom, saw what was happening, and... Marcus paused. She intervened. Intervened how? She walked up to me, linked her arm through mine, and called me honey. Denise's mouth fell open. She pretended we were together, Marcus continued. And then she defended me, in front of everyone. She told Vanessa that I was one of the few genuinely good men she'd ever known. She talked about how I show up every day, how I turned down promotions to spend time with Maya, how I'm loyal and honest. Denise was staring at him like he had grown a second head. Victoria Cole, she repeated slowly. The billionaire Victoria Cole, the woman who runs that giant company you work for. Yes. She called you honey. Yes. In front of your ex-wife. In front of everyone. Denise was silent for a long moment. Then she burst out laughing. Oh my God, she said, wiping her eyes. Oh my God, that is the greatest thing I've ever heard. It's not funny. It's hilarious. Vanessa tried to humiliate you, and your billionaire boss swooped in and made her look like a fool. Denise was still laughing. I would have paid money to see her face. She looked like she wanted to disappear. Good. She deserves it. Denise finally calmed down enough to study Marcus's face. But wait. Why do you look so confused? This is a good thing, right? I don't know what it is. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. I don't understand why Victoria did it. We've worked together for 4 years, and she's never shown any personal interest in my life. She's professional, distant. And then suddenly she's calling me honey and defending my honor like she cares about you. Marcus didn't answer. Denise's expression shifted from amusement to something more serious. Marcus, does Victoria Cole have feelings for you? What? No. That's ridiculous. Is it? Because what you're describing sounds like a woman who has feelings. She was just being kind, standing up against a bully. She said she doesn't like watching good people get torn down. She also said you're one of the few genuinely good men she's ever known. Denise raised an eyebrow. That's not a casual observation. That's someone who's been paying attention. Marcus shook his head. You're reading too much into it. Am I? She has your phone number now. She texted you after you got home. She gave you Monday off. Denise poked him in the chest. Those are not the actions of a boss who sees you as just another employee. Denise, I'm not saying it's romantic. I'm saying there's something there. Something beyond professional courtesy. She studied his face. And I think you feel it too. Marcus wanted to argue. He wanted to explain all the reasons why Denise was wrong, why Victoria was just being kind, why this didn't mean what she thought it meant. But the words wouldn't come. Because deep down, he wasn't sure she was wrong. Daddy? Maya came running around the corner and launched herself at Marcus. He caught her and lifted her up, holding her tight. Hey, baby girl. You're here. Aunt Denise made pancakes. Did she, with chocolate chips? Extra chocolate chips. Maya pulled back to look at his face. How was the party? It was interesting. Good interesting or bad interesting? Marcus thought about the question. 24 hours ago, he would have said bad. The humiliation, the pain, the feeling of being destroyed in front of people he used to know. But then Victoria had appeared, and everything had changed. A little of both, he said finally. But it ended up okay. Maya studied him with those serious eyes. Did you see Mom? Yes. Was she nice? Marcus hesitated. He never lied to Maya, but he also tried to protect her from the uglier truths about her mother. She was herself, he said carefully. But someone else was very nice to me, someone unexpected. Who? My boss, Ms. Cole. Maya's eyes widened. The lady you work for? The one with the big office. That's the one. Was she at the party? She was at the hotel for a different meeting, but she saw me and came over to say hello. Marcus set Maya down. She said nice things about me. What kind of nice things? She said I was a good man, a good father. Maya smiled. Well, she's right. You are. The simple words hit Marcus harder than anything Victoria had said, because Maya believed them completely, without hesitation or doubt. Thanks, baby girl. Can we go home now? I want to show you the drawing I made. Sure. Let me just talk to Aunt Denise for a minute. Maya ran back to the living room to gather her things. Marcus turned to find Denise watching him with a soft expression. She's right, you know, Denise said quietly. Victoria, Maya, they're both right. About what? About you being a good man. Denise reached out and squeezed his arm. You've spent so long letting Vanessa's voice be the loudest one in your head. Maybe it's time to start listening to other voices instead. Marcus didn't know what to say, so he just hugged his sister and whispered thank you. The drive home was filled with Maya's chatter. She told him about the movie she watched, the dream she had, the drawing she made of a purple elephant wearing a top hat. Marcus listened and responded and asked questions, but part of his mind was elsewhere. Thinking about Victoria, thinking about what Denise had said, thinking about what came next. When they got home, Maya immediately ran to get her drawing. Marcus sat on the couch and pulled out his phone. Victoria's messages were still there waiting. He read them again. I've watched you for 4 years, Marcus. The way you work, the way you treat people, the way you talk about your daughter. I've seen the man you are when you think no one is watching. Someone should have defended you a long time ago. His thumbs hovered over the keyboard. He should respond. It would be rude not to. But what could he say? Thank you that felt inadequate. Something more personal that felt presumptuous. Finally, he typed, I got home safe. Thank you again for everything. I don't have words for what you did, but I hope you know how much it meant. He stared at the message for a long time. Then he added, and thank you for seeing me. I'm not sure I've been seen in a very long time. He hit send before he could change his mind. Maya returned with her drawing. Look, Daddy. It's Mr. Elephant. He's going to a fancy party. Marcus looked at the purple elephant in his top hat and felt something warm spread through his chest. He looks very distinguished, he said. What's distinguished? It means fancy and important. Maya beamed. That's what I was going for. They spent the rest of the day doing nothing special. Laundry, groceries, a walk to the park. The ordinary routines of ordinary life. But Marcus found himself noticing things differently. The way Maya laughed when he pushed her on the swings. The way she held his hand when they crossed the street. The way she looked at him like he was the center of her universe. These were the things he had chosen. These were the things Vanessa had called mediocre. These were the things Victoria had called rare. Around 4 o'clock, his phone buzzed. Victoria. I hope I'm not interrupting family time. I just wanted to say that your message meant a lot to me. Being seen goes both ways, Marcus. I see you, and I think you see me too. Marcus read the message 3 times. Who's that? Maya asked, looking up from her coloring book. Just work, Marcus said. On Sunday. Sometimes work doesn't follow the calendar. Maya accepted this and went back to her coloring. Marcus stared at his phone, trying to figure out how to respond. I think you see me too. What did that mean? Was Denise right? Was there something more here than professional courtesy? And if there was, what then? Victoria Cole was a billionaire. She ran one of the largest companies in the state. She moved in circles Marcus couldn't even imagine. The gap between their worlds was enormous. But she had texted him on a Sunday afternoon. She had said being seen goes both ways. That wasn't nothing. Marcus typed back, I think I do see you, and I think what I see is someone who doesn't let herself be seen very often. He sent it before he could overthink it. The response came quickly. You're right, I don't. Most people only see the money and the title. They don't see beyond it. Then, "You've never treated me like a title, not once in 4 years. Do you know how rare that is?" Marcus smiled despite himself. "You keep calling me rare," he typed. "Maybe we're both rare. Maybe we are." The conversation paused. Marcus waited, wondering if he had said too much. Then, "I have a proposal for you. Don't answer now. Think about it first." Marcus felt his heartbeat quicken. "I'm hosting a charity gala next month. Black tie, very formal, very boring. I usually go alone because I can't stand making small talk with people who only want to network." Another message. "I'd like you to come with me, not as my employee, as my guest." Marcus stared at the screen. "You don't have to say yes," Victoria continued. "I know it's an unusual request, and I know the optics might be complicated, but I enjoyed talking with you last night, really talking, and I'd like to do it again." The final message. "Think about it, let me know. No pressure either way." Marcus set down his phone. His hands were shaking. "Daddy!" Maya was looking at him with concern. "Are you okay? Your face is doing something weird." "I'm fine, baby girl. Just surprised." "About what?" Marcus looked at his daughter. She was watching him with that open, curious expression she always had, waiting for answers, trusting that he would give them. "Someone asked me to go to a fancy party," he said. "Another party, you just went to one." "This one's different." "Different how?" Marcus thought about it. How could he explain this to a 9-year-old? "The person who asked me is important to me," he said slowly. "And I think maybe I'm important to her too." Maya's eyes widened. "Is it a girl?" "A woman, yes." "Like a girlfriend?" "No, not like that. At least, I don't think so." Marcus sighed. "It's complicated, Maya." "Is she nice?" "Very nice." "Does she make you smile?" The question caught Marcus off guard. He thought about Victoria, the way she had stood beside him in the ballroom, the way she had defended him without hesitation, the way she had looked at him in the parking garage and told him he was rare. "Yes," he admitted. "She does." Maya grinned. "Then you should go to the party." "You think so?" "Yes. You said you never do anything fun. This sounds fun." Marcus laughed. "When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart, Daddy. You just don't pay attention." He pulled her into a hug, kissing the top of her head. "I always pay attention to you, baby girl. Always." That night, after Maya was asleep, Marcus sat in the dark living room and stared at his phone. Victoria's invitation was still there, waiting for an answer. A charity gala. Black tie. Very formal. With Victoria Cole on his arm. 3 days ago, the idea would have been laughable. Marcus Thompson, senior secretary, single father, nobody special, attending a gala with a billionaire. It was the setup for a joke, but Victoria hadn't been joking. She had been sincere, and she had asked him to think about it. So he thought. He thought about Vanessa. About the years he had spent trying to be good enough for her. About the way she had made him feel small, insignificant, invisible. About standing in that ballroom and hearing her tell a room full of people that he was a failure. He thought about Victoria. About the way she had walked into the chaos and stood beside him. About the things she had said not to defend herself or to win an argument, but simply because she believed them. About the way she had looked at him like he mattered. He thought about what he wanted. Not what Vanessa wanted. Not what the world expected. What he, Marcus Thompson, actually wanted for himself. And the answer surprised him. He wanted to say yes. Not because Victoria was rich or powerful, or could open doors for him, but because she had seen him when no one else was looking. Because she had defended him when he couldn't defend himself. Because she had asked him to a party not as an employee or an obligation, but as a person she wanted to spend time with. When was the last time anyone had wanted to spend time with him? Marcus picked up his phone. His thumbs moved before he could second-guess himself. "I've thought about it. The answer is yes." He added, "I don't have a tuxedo, though. You might need to give me some guidance." The response came within minutes. "I'll take care of everything." "And Marcus?" "Yes?" "Thank you. I was afraid you'd say no." Marcus smiled at the screen. "I was afraid to say yes, but my daughter told me I never do anything fun. She said I should go." "Smart daughter. She gets it from me." "I don't doubt it." Marcus set down the phone and leaned back against the couch. His heart was racing. His mind was spinning. He had just agreed to attend a black-tie gala with his billionaire boss. What was he doing? But even as the doubt crept in, something else was there too. Something that felt like possibility, like hope. Like maybe, just maybe, his life was about to change. Monday arrived and Marcus didn't go to work. Victoria had given him the day off, and for once, he took it without guilt. He slept in until 8, a luxury he couldn't remember the last time he'd enjoyed. He made breakfast without rushing. He sat on the couch and watched the morning news like a regular person instead of someone perpetually late for something. Maya was at school. The apartment was quiet, and Marcus had nowhere to be. It felt strange, almost uncomfortable. His body kept telling him he should be doing something, going somewhere, checking off tasks on an invisible list. Instead, he sat, and he thought. About Vanessa, about Victoria, about the two versions of himself that existed in their eyes. To Vanessa, he was a failure, a man who had given up, a coward who hid behind his daughter instead of facing the world. To Victoria, he was rare, valuable, a man who showed up, a man who stayed. The same person. Two completely different assessments. For years, Marcus had believed Vanessa's version. He had internalized her criticism, let it become the voice in his head, the lens through which he saw himself. Every time he looked in the mirror, he saw the man she had described. Not good enough, not successful enough, not enough, period. But what if she was wrong? What if the problem wasn't Marcus at all? What if the problem was that Vanessa's definition of success was too narrow to accommodate someone like him? Victoria Cole was worth billions. She had built an empire from nothing. By any conventional measure, she was infinitely more successful than Vanessa would ever be. And Victoria had looked at Marcus and seen someone worth defending. Maybe success wasn't just about money and status and climbing. Maybe there was another kind of success, the kind that came from being present, being loyal, being good. Maybe Marcus had been successful all along. He just hadn't known how to see it. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Marcus, this is Jessica, from the reunion. I got your number from the organizers. Can we talk?" Marcus stared at the message. Jessica, one of Vanessa's friends. The one who had looked uncomfortable during the confrontation, but hadn't said anything. He typed back, "What do you want to talk about?" "What happened Saturday night? I want to apologize. In person, if you're willing." Marcus considered it. Part of him wanted to ignore the message, to move on and forget the whole thing. But another part was curious. What could Jessica possibly want to say? When and where, he typed. "There's a coffee shop on Madison and 5th. I can be there in an hour if you're free." Marcus looked around his empty apartment. He was free. Very free. "I'll be there." The coffee shop was small and quiet, the kind of place where people came to work on laptops or read books. Marcus arrived first and ordered a black coffee. He chose a table near the window and waited. Jessica walked in 15 minutes later. She looked different than she had at the reunion, less polished, more tired. Like she hadn't slept well either. She spotted Marcus and made her way over, clutching her purse like a shield. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I wasn't sure you would." "I wasn't sure either." Jessica sat down across from him. She didn't order anything. Her hands fidgeted with her purse strap. "I don't know where to start," she admitted. "The beginning usually works." Jessica took a breath. Vanessa planned the whole thing, the confrontation. She'd been talking about it for weeks. She knew you'd be at the reunion and she wanted to, I don't know, prove something. Win some battle that was only happening in her head. Why are you telling me this? Because I should have stopped her. Jessica's eyes were wet. I knew what she was going to do and I just stood there. I watched her tear you apart and I didn't say a word. You weren't the only one. That doesn't make it okay. Jessica wiped her eyes. Claire and Amy and we talked about it afterward. We all felt sick about it. But we were too scared to intervene. Vanessa has always been... She searched for the word. Powerful. Intimidating. When she decides something, you don't get in her way. I know the feeling. Jessica looked at him with something like understanding. You were married to her. You know better than anyone. Yeah, I do. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside the window, people walked past, living their ordinary lives. Can I ask you something? Jessica said. Sure. That woman who showed up, Victoria Cole, is she really? My boss, yes. And are you two? Marcus hesitated. He still didn't know how to answer that question. We're friends, he said finally. I think? Jessica nodded slowly. The way she defended you, the things she said, it was... I've never seen anything like it. Neither had I. She cares about you. That was obvious to everyone in the room. Marcus didn't respond. He wasn't sure what to say. Vanessa was furious after you left. Jessica continued. She tried to act like nothing happened, but everyone was talking about it. About Victoria Cole showing up. About the things she said. About how she made Vanessa look like... Jessica trailed off. Like a bully. Yes. Jessica met his eyes. That's exactly what she is, Marcus. I've known her for 15 years, and I think I'm only now seeing it clearly. She's a bully. She tears people down to make herself feel bigger, and I've been letting her do it because I was too afraid to push back. What changed? Saturday night. Jessica's voice was firm now. Watching you stand there and take it. Watching Victoria step in and defend you. It was like, I don't know, like seeing everything from the outside for the first time. And I didn't like what I saw. Marcus studied her face. She seemed genuine, regretful. Why did you stay friends with her all these years? He asked. If you knew what she was like. Habit, I guess. History. The same reasons anyone stays in a bad situation. Jessica shrugged. She wasn't always this bad. Or maybe she was and I just didn't see it. Either way, I'm done making excuses for her. What are you going to do? Distance myself, quietly. I'm not brave enough to confront her directly, but I can stop being part of her audience. Jessica paused. And I can apologize to the people she's hurt, starting with you. Marcus looked at the woman across from him. She wasn't a bad person, just weak. Too weak to stand up to someone stronger. He knew the feeling. He had been the same way for most of his marriage. I appreciate you coming, he said. And I accept your apology. Really? Really? It took courage to reach out. Jessica's shoulders sagged with relief. Thank you. I wasn't sure how you'd react. Life's too short to hold grudges. Marcus finished his coffee. At least that's what I'm trying to believe. Jessica smiled weakly. For what it's worth, I think Victoria was right. About everything she said. You seem like a good man, Marcus. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. Better late than never. They parted ways outside the coffee shop. Jessica headed toward her car. Marcus stood on the sidewalk watching her go. Another piece of the puzzle falling into place. Vanessa had planned the humiliation. It wasn't spontaneous cruelty. It was calculated, premeditated, designed to inflict maximum damage. That should have made him angry. And part of him was. But mostly he felt something else. Pity. What kind of person spent weeks planning to destroy their ex-husband at a reunion? What kind of emptiness drove that kind of behavior? Victoria had called Vanessa a bully. But bullies were usually broken people themselves, lashing out at others because they couldn't face their own pain. Vanessa had left Marcus because she wanted freedom. She had abandoned Maya because motherhood interfered with her ambitions. She had built a successful career and a glamorous life in Atlanta. But she had also driven 3 hours to attend a college reunion for the sole purpose of humiliating a man who had moved on without her. That wasn't success. That was desperation. Marcus pulled out his phone and typed a message to Victoria. "I just met with one of Vanessa's friends. She told me the whole confrontation was planned. Vanessa had been preparing for weeks." The response came quickly. "That doesn't surprise me. People like her need to control the narrative. When they can't, they lash out." Then, "How are you feeling?" Marcus thought about it. "Better than I expected. Talking to Jessica helped. And honestly, I'm starting to feel sorry for Vanessa. Sorry for her. She's clearly unhappy. Happy people don't spend weeks planning to humiliate their ex at a reunion. There's something broken there." Victoria was quiet for a moment. Then, "You're more generous than most people would be." "Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired of carrying anger around. It's heavy." "That's wisdom, Marcus. Real wisdom." Marcus smiled at his phone. "I don't know about wisdom. I think it's just exhaustion dressed up in nice words." "Either way, I'm impressed." They texted back and forth for a few more minutes. Light conversation, easy banter. Nothing profound, but something comfortable. Something that felt like the beginning of something else. Marcus walked home slowly, enjoying the crisp afternoon air. The city moved around him, cars, people, noise, but he felt separate from it somehow. Like he was watching his own life from a slight distance. Things were changing. He could feel it. The reunion had cracked something open, and now light was pouring in. He didn't know where it was leading. He didn't know what came next. But for the first time in years, he was looking forward to finding out. 3 weeks passed faster than Marcus expected. Work returned to normal, or at least something resembling normal. Victoria maintained her professional distance during office hours. No special treatment. No lingering glances. Nothing that would give the staff reason to gossip. She was the same efficient, demanding CEO she had always been. But the texts continued. Every evening, usually around 8 o'clock, Marcus's phone would buzz. Sometimes Victoria shared something from her day. A frustrating meeting, a difficult decision, a small victory. Sometimes she asked about Maya. Sometimes they talked about nothing at all. It became a routine. A new kind of routine. One that Marcus found himself looking forward to more than he wanted to admit. "You're smiling at your phone again," Denise said one Sunday afternoon. She had come over to help Maya with a school project, but her real purpose was clearly to interrogate Marcus. "I'm just reading something." "Something from your billionaire girlfriend." "She's not my girlfriend." "You text each other every day." "Friends text each other." "Friends don't invite each other to black tie galas." Denise crossed her arms. "When is that, by the way?" "Next Saturday." "And you still don't have a tuxedo." "Victoria said she's taking care of it." Denise's eyebrows shot up. "She's buying you a tuxedo." "She said she has a connection with a tailor. It's not a big deal." "Marcus, a billionaire is buying you custom formal wear for a gala she invited you to personally. How is that not a big deal?" Marcus didn't have an answer for that. Maya looked up from her project. "Is Daddy going on a date?" "No," Marcus said quickly. "Yes," Denise said at the same time. Maya grinned. "I think it's a date." "It's not a date. It's a charity event." "That you're attending with a woman who texts you every night," Denise smirked. "That sounds like a date to me." Marcus gave up trying to argue. He had learned long ago that winning an argument with his sister was impossible. The following Tuesday, a package arrived at Marcus's apartment. It was large and flat, wrapped in black paper with a silver ribbon. No return address, but Marcus knew who it was from. He opened it carefully, almost reverently. Inside was a garment bag made of thick, expensive fabric. He unzipped it slowly. The tuxedo was perfect. Classic black with satin lapels and a subtle sheen to the fabric. The shirt was crisp white, the bow tie silk, the cufflinks silver with small onyx stones. Everything fit together like pieces of a puzzle designed specifically for him. A note was tucked into the pocket. I hope it fits. The tailor used your measurements from the employee health records. Don't worry, I asked HR for permission first. See you Saturday. V. Marcus held the tuxedo up against his body and looked in the mirror. The man staring back at him looked like a stranger. Someone confident. Someone important. Someone who belonged at a gala. He wasn't sure that man was really him, but maybe he thought it was time to find out. Saturday arrived with a gray sky and a knot in Marcus's stomach. He spent the morning cleaning the apartment even though no one would see it. He spent the afternoon pacing. He checked the tuxedo 3 times to make sure it was still there, still real, still waiting. Maya watched him from the couch with barely concealed amusement. "Daddy, you're being weird." "I'm not being weird. You've walked past the closet 6 times in the last hour. I'm just making sure everything's ready. The clothes aren't going to run away." Marcus stopped pacing and looked at his daughter. She was 9 years old, but sometimes she seemed older, wiser, like she understood things that took adults decades to figure out. "Are you nervous?" she asked. "A little." "Why?" Marcus sat down next to her on the couch. "Because this is new for me. I haven't done anything like this in a long time. What if I don't fit in? What if I say the wrong thing? What if—" "Daddy?" Maya put her small hand on his arm. "You're going to be fine." "How do you know?" "Because you're you." She said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "And Ms. Cole invited you because she likes you, so just be yourself." Marcus felt the knot in his stomach loosen slightly. "When did you get so good at pep talks?" "I learned from watching you." Maya smiled. "You give me pep talks all the time. Now it's my turn." Denise arrived at 5 to pick up Maya. She took one look at Marcus and whistled. "Damn, big brother, you clean up nice." Marcus tugged at his collar. "It feels strange, like I'm wearing a costume." "That's because you've been wearing dad clothes for 9 years. Denise walked around him, examining the tuxedo from all angles. "This is high quality. Custom tailored. She must really like you." "Can we please stop saying that?" "No, because it's true." Denise stopped in front of him and straightened his bow tie. "Listen to me. You deserve this. You deserve to feel special, to go to fancy parties, to have a beautiful woman on your arm. Stop acting like you're not worthy of it." "I'm not." "You are. I can see it on your face." Denise's voice softened. "Vanessa made you feel small for years. She convinced you that you weren't good enough. But she was wrong, Marcus. She was wrong about everything." Marcus looked at his sister. She had always believed in him even when he couldn't believe in himself. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Don't thank me. Just go have fun." Denise stepped back and grinned. "And text me pictures. I want to see everything." After they left, Marcus stood alone in his apartment, dressed in a tuxedo that cost more than his car, waiting for a limousine that would take him to a world he had never belonged to. At exactly 6 o'clock, his phone buzzed. "I'm outside. Are you ready?" Marcus took a deep breath. "Ready as I'll ever be." The limousine was sleek and black, idling at the curb like a panther waiting to pounce. Marcus walked toward it, feeling every step like he was crossing into foreign territory. The back door opened. Victoria stepped out. She was wearing a deep burgundy gown that caught the evening light like liquid fire. Her silver-streaked hair was swept up, revealing diamond earrings that sparkled with every movement. She looked like royalty, like power made flesh. And she was smiling at him. "You look incredible," she said. Marcus couldn't find words. He just stood there staring, trying to reconcile the professional CEO he had worked for with the stunning woman in front of him. "Marcus." Victoria's smile widened. "Are you okay?" Yes, sorry, I just—" He shook his head. "You look amazing." "So do you." Victoria reached out and adjusted his lapel slightly. "The tuxedo fits perfectly. I knew it would." "Thank you. for arranging it." "My pleasure." She gestured toward the limousine. "Shall we?" Marcus climbed into the back seat. The interior was all leather and soft lighting, with a small bar stocked with bottles he couldn't identify. Victoria slid in beside him, close enough that he could smell her perfume, something subtle and expensive. The door closed. The limousine pulled away. "Are you nervous?" Victoria asked. "Terrified." She laughed. It was a real laugh, warm and unguarded, nothing like the polite chuckles he had heard in office meetings. "Good. That means you're human." "Were you nervous the first time you attended something like this?" "I was paralyzed." Victoria settled back against the seat. "My first gala was 23 years ago. I had just started Cole Enterprises. I was nobody, a woman with a business plan and more ambition than sense. Someone invited me to a charity event, and I thought it was my chance to make connections. What happened? I spent the entire evening standing in a corner, too afraid to talk to anyone. I left early, went home, and cried." Victoria smiled ruefully. "Not my finest moment." Marcus tried to imagine Victoria Cole, confident, powerful, worth billions, crying alone in her apartment. It didn't compute. "What changed?" he asked. "I realized that everyone at those events was just as insecure as I was. They were all performing, pretending to be more important than they felt. Once I understood that, the fear went away." "So you're saying everyone at this gala is secretly terrified?" "Most of them, yes. They hide it better, but it's there." Victoria turned to look at him. "The trick is not to let them see your uncertainty. Project confidence even if you don't feel it. People believe what you show them. Fake it till you make it." Something like that. Victoria reached over and touched his hand briefly. "But you won't need to fake anything, Marcus. You belong there as much as anyone." "I'm not sure that's true." "It is. Because I say so." Her eyes held his. "And tonight, my opinion is the only one that matters." The gala was being held at the Hartwell Museum, a massive stone building that looked like a Greek temple transplanted to downtown. Limousines lined the entrance, disgorging passengers in designer gowns and tailored suits. Photographers clustered near the red carpet, their cameras flashing like lightning. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. "Just breathe," Victoria said. "Stay close to me. Follow my lead." The door opened. Victoria stepped out first, and the cameras immediately swung toward her. Voices called out, "Victoria, Victoria, over here!" and she acknowledged them with a practiced wave. Then she turned and extended her hand to Marcus. He took it and stepped out of the limousine. The flash of cameras was blinding. Voices shouted questions. "Who's your date, Victoria? Is this someone new? What's his name?" But Victoria ignored them all. She linked her arm through Marcus's and started walking toward the entrance. "Don't look at the cameras," she murmured. "Just look straight ahead and smile." Marcus tried to smile. It probably looked more like a grimace. They made it through the gauntlet of photographers and into the museum. The interior was vast and glittering, filled with people who all seemed to know each other. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Waiters circulated with champagne. The sound of a string quartet floated through the air. "Welcome to my world," Victoria said softly. "It's a lot." "It is, but you'll get used to it." She guided him through the crowd, nodding at people as they passed. "The key is to never look impressed. Act like you've seen it all before. Even if I haven't, especially if you haven't." They stopped at a quiet corner near a marble statue of something Greek. Victoria grabbed 2 glasses of champagne from a passing waiter and handed one to Marcus. First rule of galas: always have a drink in your hand. It gives you something to do with your hands and provides an excuse to disengage from boring conversations. Marcus took a sip. The champagne was excellent, light and crisp, with tiny bubbles that danced on his tongue. "What's the second rule?" "Find the most interesting person in the room and attach yourself to them." Victoria clinked her glass against his. "Congratulations, you've already accomplished that." "Because I'm with you." "No." Victoria's eyes sparkled. "Because you are the most interesting person in this room. Everyone else is just pretending." Before Marcus could respond, a man approached them. He was tall and silver-haired with the kind of tan that came from expensive vacations. "Victoria, wonderful to see you." He leaned in to kiss her cheek, then noticed Marcus. "And who's this?" "Richard. This is Marcus Thompson. Marcus, this is Richard Hartwell. His family donated this museum." "Pleasure to meet you." Richard shook Marcus's hand with the aggressive friendliness of a car salesman. "Are you in the industry?" "I work with Victoria," Marcus said carefully. "Ah, at Cole Enterprises, what department?" Marcus hesitated. The truth was embarrassing. He was a secretary, an assistant, nobody important. But Victoria answered before he could. "Marcus is one of my most trusted advisors," she said smoothly. "I don't make major decisions without consulting him first." Richard's eyebrows rose. "Really? That's impressive. You must be very talented." "He is." Victoria's tone left no room for argument. They chatted with Richard for a few more minutes, meaningless small talk about the museum, the charity, the weather, before he moved on to greet other guests. "Trusted advisor," Marcus said when they were alone again. "It's not a lie. I do consult you on my schedule, which affects every major decision I make." Victoria smiled. "I just left out the part about you being my secretary. That feels like a lie by omission. Welcome to high society." Victoria touched his arm. "These people don't need to know your job title. They just need to know you matter, and to me you do." The evening progressed in a blur of introductions and conversations. Victoria guided Marcus through the crowd with practiced ease, introducing him to CEOs, politicians, celebrities, and philanthropists. Everyone seemed to know her. Everyone seemed to respect her. And everyone seemed curious about the man on her arm. "Is this your first time at the Hartwell Gala?" a woman in diamonds asked Marcus. "It is." "How are you finding it?" "Overwhelming," Marcus admitted, "but in a good way." The woman laughed. "That's the perfect answer. Victoria, where did you find him? He's charming." "He found me," Victoria said. "I just had the good sense to hold on." The woman raised her glass approvingly and moved on. "You're doing well," Victoria murmured when they were alone. "I'm faking it." "That's doing well. No one can tell the difference." They found a table near the back of the main hall and sat down together. Marcus's feet hurt. He wasn't used to dress shoes, and his face ached from smiling. "How do you do this regularly?" he asked. "Practice, and a high tolerance for tedium." Victoria kicked off her heels under the table. "Also, I've learned to recognize when I need a break, like now." "Is this a break?" "This is me hiding from the Peterson family. They want me to invest in their vineyard, and I've run out of polite ways to say no." Marcus laughed. "The burdens of wealth. You have no idea." Victoria leaned back in her chair, her posture relaxing. "Do you want to know a secret?" "Always." "I hate these events. I've hated them for 20 years. The networking, the small talk, the constant performance, it exhausts me." "Then why do you keep coming?" "Because it's expected. Because it's good for business. Because disappearing from the social scene creates more problems than attending." Victoria turned to look at him. "But tonight is different." "Different how?" "Tonight I'm actually enjoying myself." Marcus felt warmth spread through his chest. "Because of the open bar. Because of you." Victoria's voice was soft, sincere. "I've never brought anyone to these events before. I always come alone. It's easier that way. No explanations, no complications." "Why did you invite me?" Victoria was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was measured, careful. "Because after Saturday night, the reunion, the bar, our conversations, I realized something. I've spent my whole life building walls, keeping people at a distance. It was safer that way. Easier. But it was also lonely." She looked at him, and Marcus saw something vulnerable in her eyes. Something he had never seen at work. "You got past my walls, Marcus. I don't know how, but you did. And for the first time in a very long time, I didn't want to be alone." Marcus didn't know what to say. He had spent so many years feeling invisible, insignificant, unworthy of attention. And here was one of the most powerful women in the country telling him that he had reached her in a way no one else had. "I don't know what to do with that," he admitted. "You don't have to do anything." Victoria smiled. "Just be here, that's enough." They sat in comfortable silence watching the gala swirl around them. Somewhere a woman laughed too loudly. Somewhere else a man was making a toast. The string quartet played on. "Victoria." She turned to look at him. "Thank you," Marcus said, "for inviting me, for the tuxedo, for all of it." "You're welcome. I mean it. This is the most special night I've had in years. Maybe ever." Victoria reached over and took his hand. Her fingers were warm, her grip gentle, but sure. "The night's not over yet." They stayed at the table for another hour talking about everything and nothing. Victoria told him about her childhood growing up poor, watching her parents work themselves to exhaustion, vowing to build something better. Marcus told her about Maya. The funny things she said, the way she looked at the world. The fear that he wasn't giving her enough. "You're giving her everything that matters," Victoria said. "How do you know?" "Because I can see it. In the way you talk about her. In the way your face lights up when you say her name." Victoria squeezed his hand. "That child knows she's loved. Trust me, that's more than most people get." Around 11 o'clock, the gala began to wind down. Guests drifted toward the exit, exchanging air kisses and promises to call. The string quartet packed up their instruments. "Ready to leave?" Victoria asked. "I think so." They walked to the entrance together, Victoria's arm linked through his. The photographers were gone now. The real news had happened hours ago. Just a few stragglers remained waiting for their limousines. Victoria's car pulled up. The driver opened the door. "Can I give you a ride home?" Victoria asked. "That would be nice." They climbed into the back seat. The door closed, sealing them in the quiet darkness. "Where to, Ms. Cole?" the driver asked. Victoria looked at Marcus. "Your place or mine?" The question hung in the air. Marcus felt his heart rate spike. "I should probably get home," he said carefully. "Maya's sitter is expecting me." "Of course." Victoria gave the driver Marcus's address. They rode in silence for a few minutes. The city lights slid past the windows. "Marcus?" He turned to look at her. "I want you to know something." Victoria's voice was serious. "Whatever this is between us, whatever it becomes, I don't want it to affect your job. If you're uncomfortable, if you want to keep things professional, I'll respect that." "Is that what you want? To keep things professional?" "No." The word came out quickly, almost involuntarily. "But I also don't want to pressure you. You work for me. There's a power imbalance. I'm aware of how this looks." Marcus considered her words. She was right, the situation was complicated. She was his boss. She was wealthy beyond imagination. The gap between their worlds was enormous, but she was also the woman who had defended him without hesitation. The woman who texted him every night. The woman who had just told him he had gotten past her walls. "I don't want to keep things professional," Marcus said. Victoria's breath caught slightly. "Are you sure?" "No." He laughed. "I'm not sure of anything right now, but I know how I feel when I'm with you, and I don't want to lose that just because it's complicated." Victoria was silent for a long moment. Then she leaned over and kissed him. It was soft, brief, just a brush of lips against lips. But it changed everything. The limousine pulled up to Marcus's building. The driver opened the door. "Good night, Marcus," Victoria said softly. "Good night, Victoria." He stepped out of the car and stood on the sidewalk watching as the limousine pulled away. Victoria's face was visible through the window, illuminated by the streetlights. She was smiling. Marcus walked into his building, climbed the stairs to his apartment, and let himself in. The space was quiet and dark. Maya was at Denise's safe and sleeping. He stood in his living room, still wearing the tuxedo, still feeling the ghost of Victoria's lips on his. Everything had changed. In 3 weeks, his entire life had shifted on its axis. He had walked into that reunion expecting humiliation. He had found something else entirely. Marcus pulled out his phone and typed a message. "I had an amazing night. Thank you for everything." The response came within seconds. "So did I. Sleep well, Marcus. I'll see you Monday." Then a moment later, "And just so you know, this is only the beginning." Marcus smiled at his phone. For the first time in years, he believed it. Monday morning came with sunshine and terror. Marcus stood outside Cole Enterprises staring up at the glass tower like he had never seen it before. In a way, he hadn't. Everything looked different now. The building, the people streaming through the doors, his own reflection in the polished entrance. He was no longer just an employee walking into work. He was a man who had kissed his boss in the back of a limousine. The thought made his stomach flip. "You going in, or you just gonna stand there all day?" Marcus turned. A delivery driver was waiting behind him with a dolly full of packages, looking impatient. "Sorry, yeah, going in." He pushed through the revolving doors and crossed the lobby. The security guard nodded at him like always. The elevator dinged like always. Everything was the same. Except it wasn't. Marcus rode up to the 43rd floor, his heart pounding harder with each number that lit up. What would he say to Victoria? How would they act around each other? Had the kiss meant what he thought it meant, or had she reconsidered over the weekend? The doors opened. He stepped out. The office was already buzzing with Monday energy. Phones ringing, keyboards clicking, people moving with purpose. Marcus walked to his desk, set down his bag, and tried to look normal. His phone buzzed. "My office, when you're ready. Victoria." Marcus took a breath, straightened his tie, and walked toward her corner office. The door was open. She was standing by the window, looking out at the city, her back to him. "Close the door," she said without turning around. Marcus closed it. The click of the latch seemed very loud. Victoria turned. She was wearing a charcoal gray suit, professional and elegant. Her expression was unreadable. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Nervous." "Good. So am I." That surprised him. "You are?" "I've been pacing since 6 this morning." Victoria gestured to a chair. "Sit, please." Marcus sat. Victoria remained standing, which made him feel like he was in a job interview. "I need to say something," she began, "and I need you to let me finish before you respond." Marcus nodded. Victoria took a breath. "What happened Saturday night, the kiss, I don't regret it. I want to be clear about that. But I also spent all of yesterday thinking about what it means, and I realized we need to have a real conversation, an honest one." "Okay. You work for me. I'm your employer. There's a significant power differential here, and I refuse to pretend it doesn't exist." Victoria's voice was measured, careful. "If we pursue this, whatever this is, it has to be on equal terms. You have to feel free to say no, to walk away, to tell me to go to hell if that's what you want." "Victoria, I'm not finished." She held up a hand. "I've seen relationships destroyed by power imbalances. I've watched men use their positions to pressure women into situations they didn't want. I refuse to become that person, even unintentionally." She finally sat down across from him, leaning forward with her elbows on her knees. "So here's what I'm proposing. If you want to continue seeing me outside of work, I'll transfer you to a different department. Same salary, same benefits, but you won't report to me directly. We'll have separation between our professional and personal lives." Marcus blinked. "You'd do that?" "I'd do more than that." Victoria's voice softened. "Marcus, I've spent 30 years building this company. It's my legacy, my identity. But Saturday night, sitting with you at that gala, I realized something. I don't want to spend the rest of my life alone. I don't want to die surrounded by money and achievements, but no one who actually knows me." She paused, her eyes searching his face. "You know me. Somehow in the space of 3 weeks, you've seen more of me than people I've worked with for decades. and I'm not willing to let that go just because the situation is complicated." Marcus sat in silence, processing her words. She was offering him everything: a relationship, a restructured job, a future that didn't require him to choose between his career and his heart. "What if I said I didn't want to transfer?" he asked. Victoria's expression flickered. "Then we'd have to keep things professional. I won't risk your career or my integrity." "And if I said yes?" "Then we'd figure it out together." A small smile crossed her face. "That's how partnerships work, isn't it?" Marcus thought about Maya, about the life he had built, about the years of routine and sacrifice and showing up even when it was hard. He thought about Vanessa, about the way she had made him feel small, worthless, invisible. He thought about Victoria, about the way she looked at him like he mattered, like he was rare. "Yes," he said. Victoria's smile widened. "Yes to the transfer, or yes to everything?" "Everything." Marcus leaned forward. "I want this. I want to see where it goes. I want to stop being afraid of the things that might make me happy." Victoria reached out and took his hand. Her grip was warm, certain. "Then we'll figure it out. Together." The news of Marcus's transfer spread through the office within days. He was moved to the community outreach department, a lateral shift that made sense on paper. No one suspected anything unusual. Or if they did, they kept it to themselves. Victoria maintained her professional distance during work hours. She was still the CEO, still the boss, still the woman who ran the company with precision and authority. But sometimes, when their paths crossed in the hallway, she would catch his eye and smile. Just for a second. Just enough. The texts continued every evening. But now there were also dinners, movies, long walks through the city after Maya went to bed. Denise was happy to babysit, especially once she learned the reason. "I told you," she said triumphantly. "I told you there was something there." "You were right." "I'm always right. You should listen to me more often." Maya took longer to understand what was happening. She knew Daddy was seeing someone. She knew that someone was Ms. Cole from work. But the full picture didn't click until the first time Victoria came to dinner. It was a Thursday evening, 3 weeks after the gala. Victoria arrived at 6 o'clock with flowers for the table and a book about elephants for Maya. "I heard you like elephants," Victoria said, handing over the gift. Maya's eyes went wide. "I love elephants." "How did you know?" "Your father told me." Victoria smiled. "He talks about you constantly." Maya looked at Marcus with an expression of wonder. Then she looked back at Victoria. "Are you Daddy's girlfriend?" The directness of the question made Marcus choke on his water. Victoria just laughed. "I think so, yes. Is that okay with you?" Maya considered the question seriously. She looked at the book in her hands, then at Victoria, then at her father. "Do you make him happy?" she asked. "I try to." "Does he make you happy?" "Very much." Maya nodded slowly, her expression solemn. "Then it's okay. But you should know Daddy snores, really loud, like a bear." "Maya," Marcus protested. "What? It's true, I can hear it through the wall." Victoria was laughing so hard she had to wipe her eyes. "Thank you for the warning. I'll keep that in mind." The dinner went better than Marcus could have hoped. Victoria was warm and genuine with Maya, asking about school, listening to stories about friends and teachers, admiring drawings with appropriate enthusiasm. She didn't try too hard. She didn't pretend to be something she wasn't. She was just herself. And Maya responded to that authenticity. After dinner, while Marcus cleaned up the kitchen, he could hear them in the living room. Maya was explaining something about her elephant drawing, why the trunk was curved that way, why she had chosen purple instead of gray. Victoria was listening with complete attention. "Your daughter is remarkable," Victoria said later after Maya had gone to bed. They were sitting on the couch together, Marcus's arm around her shoulders. "She gets it from her mother." Victoria raised an eyebrow. "The good parts," Marcus amended. "The curiosity, the honesty, the way she sees right through people. She asked if I make you happy. She's protective. She loves you." Victoria nestled closer against his side. That's obvious. And you love her. It's in everything you do. She's my whole world. I know. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Marcus, I want you to know I'm not trying to replace anyone. I'm not trying to insert myself into your family or take over your life. I just want to be part of it, whatever that looks like. Marcus pulled her closer. You already are. The months that followed were the happiest Marcus could remember. He and Victoria settled into a rhythm that worked for both of them. Weeknight dinners when schedules allowed. Weekend outings with Maya. Quiet evenings on the couch talking about everything and nothing. The slow, steady building of something real. Maya warmed to Victoria gradually, then completely. She started asking when Victoria was coming over, started saving her best drawings to show her, started including her in the small rituals of their life. Victoria responded with equal affection, remembering Maya's favorite foods, asking about her friends by name, showing up to school events whenever her schedule allowed. She's different than I expected, Maya said one Sunday morning. They were making pancakes together, just the two of them. Victoria had a business trip and wouldn't be back until Tuesday. Different how? Marcus asked. I thought rich people were mean, like in movies. Maya poured batter onto the griddle, concentrating hard. But Victoria's nice. She listens when I talk. She doesn't pretend. She's one of the good ones. Is she going to live with us someday? Marcus nearly dropped the spatula. Where did that come from? I'm just asking. Amelia's mom's boyfriend moved in with them. I was wondering if Victoria would too. That's something we'd have to talk about. All three of us, when the time is right. Maya nodded thoughtfully. I think I'd be okay with it, if you wanted. Marcus felt his eyes sting. His daughter, this incredible, adaptable, generous little person, was giving him permission to be happy, to move forward, to build something new. I love you, Maya. I love you too, Daddy. She flipped a pancake with practiced skill. Now pay attention. You're going to burn them. 6 months after the reunion, Vanessa resurfaced. Marcus was at work when the email arrived. He saw the name in his inbox and felt his stomach drop. Marcus, I need to talk to you about Maya. Call me. V. He stared at the message for a long time. Vanessa hadn't reached out in almost a year. She sent Christmas presents, birthday cards, occasional texts. But she never asked to talk. Something was wrong. He stepped out of the office and called her number. She picked up on the second ring. Marcus, thanks for calling back. What's going on? Is something wrong? No, nothing's wrong. Vanessa's voice was different than he remembered, softer, less sharp. I've been doing some thinking. About Maya, about the way things ended between us. Marcus waited. I saw the photos from the Hartwell Gala. Vanessa continued. You and Victoria Cole. It's all over the society pages. People are talking. So, I wanted to say something, before more time passes. She paused. I was wrong, Marcus. At the reunion. The things I said about you, about being a bad father, a bad husband, I was wrong. Marcus felt the world tilt slightly. What? I've been seeing a therapist, working through some things. And I realized that what I did at the reunion was... Another pause. It was cruel. It was calculated. And it was unfair. Why are you telling me this? Because I owe you an apology. A real one. Vanessa's voice cracked slightly. You were never a bad father. You were the opposite. You stayed when I left. You raised our daughter while I was chasing promotions and pretending she didn't exist. You did all the hard things I was too selfish to do. Marcus sat down on a bench outside the building. His legs felt weak. I convinced myself you were the problem, Vanessa continued, that you were holding me back, dragging me down. It was easier than admitting the truth that I was running away from my own failures. That I was terrified of being a mother and used my career as an excuse. Vanessa, let me finish. Please. She took a breath. Maya is lucky to have you. I see that now. And I'm sorry it took me so long to say it. Marcus didn't know how to respond. For years, Vanessa's voice had been the critic in his head, telling him he wasn't enough. And now, here she was admitting she had been wrong all along. "Thank you," he said finally, "for saying that. It means more than you know. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I'm just trying to be honest. Finally. I appreciate it." There was a long silence. Then Vanessa asked, "Is she good, Victoria? Is she good to you?" "Yes, she is. And Maya likes her. Maya loves her." Vanessa laughed softly. It was a sad sound. "Good, that's good. I'm glad you found someone, Marcus. I'm glad you're happy. Thank you. Take care of yourself, and take care of our daughter." "I will." The line went dead. Marcus sat on the bench for a long time, staring at his phone, processing what had just happened. Vanessa had apologized. After all these years, after all the pain, she had admitted she was wrong. It didn't erase the past. It didn't undo the humiliation of the reunion or the years of feeling inadequate. But it was something. A small piece of closure he hadn't known he needed. He texted Victoria. "Something happened. I'll tell you tonight. Nothing bad. Actually, something good, I think." Her response came immediately. "Can't wait to hear. Dinner at your place. I'll bring wine." Marcus smiled at his phone. The world kept turning. And somehow, impossibly, it was turning in his direction. 1 year after the reunion, Victoria moved in. It happened gradually, naturally. First a toothbrush in the bathroom, then a drawer of clothes, then entire weekends spent together. Eventually, it seemed ridiculous to maintain 2 separate households when they were already living as one. Maya helped them unpack Victoria's boxes, chattering excitedly about where things should go. Victoria listened to every suggestion, even the ones that made no practical sense. "The elephant statue should go in the living room," Maya declared, "where everyone can see it." "The elephant statue is worth more than this apartment," Victoria whispered to Marcus. "Better do what she says. She's the boss." Victoria laughed and placed the elephant exactly where Maya wanted it. That night, after Maya was asleep, Marcus and Victoria sat on the couch together. The apartment looked different now, fuller, richer, shared. Victoria's things mixed with Marcus's things, mixed with Maya's things. A home that belonged to all of them. "Are you happy?" Victoria asked. Marcus thought about the question. A year ago, he would have struggled to answer. A year ago, happiness felt like something that happened to other people. "Yes," he said. "I am." "So am I." Victoria leaned her head against his shoulder. "I never thought I'd have this. A family. A real home. Someone who loves me for who I am, not what I have. You deserve all of it." "So do you." Victoria turned to look at him. "Marcus, I need to tell you something." His heart skipped. "What?" "I've been thinking about the future. About us. About Maya." She took his hand. "I want to marry you." Marcus stopped breathing. "Not now," Victoria continued quickly. "Not right away. I know Maya needs time to adjust, and I don't want to rush anything. But someday when the time is right, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Officially. Legally. In front of everyone." "Victoria, you don't have to answer now. I just wanted you to know where I stand. What I'm hoping for." Her eyes were bright with emotion. "You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Marcus Thompson. And I want to hold on to you forever." Marcus felt tears sliding down his cheeks. He didn't bother to wipe them away. "Yes," he said. "Yes, what I said, you don't have to answer now. Yes, I want to marry you." Marcus pulled her into his arms. "Someday. When Maya's ready. When the time is right. But yes. Absolutely yes." Victoria was crying too now. They held each other in the quiet living room, surrounded by the evidence of the life they were building together. I love you, Victoria whispered. I love you too. Outside the window, the city hummed with its endless noise. Cars and people, and the machinery of millions of lives unfolding simultaneously. Somewhere out there, Vanessa was living her own life, maybe finding her own peace. Somewhere out there, Jessica and Claire and Amy were going about their days, probably never thinking about that reunion at all. But here in this small apartment that had become something much larger, Marcus Thompson had found what he had been searching for his entire life. Not success, not wealth, not the approval of people who didn't matter. Just this: a woman who loved him, a daughter who needed him, a home that felt like safety. He thought about the man he had been a year ago, the one who stood frozen in that ballroom, letting Vanessa tear him apart, believing every word she said. That man had been invisible, broken, convinced he wasn't enough. That man was gone now. In his place stood someone different. Someone who had learned that dignity didn't come from what others said about you. That love wasn't earned through achievement. That showing up day after day, year after year, was its own kind of heroism. Maya's voice echoed in his memory from that morning before the reunion. "You're brave, Daddy." She had been right. Not because he had fought back, not because he had won some dramatic victory, but because he had kept going. Through the divorce, through the loneliness, through all the quiet moments when it would have been easier to give up, he had stayed. And in the end, that was what mattered. Victoria stirred against his chest. "What are you thinking about?" "Everything," Marcus said. "How different life looks now compared to a year ago. How much has changed. Good changes. The best changes." Victoria smiled and closed her eyes. "Tell me something." "What?" "Tell me about the future. What do you see?" Marcus looked around the apartment, at the elephant statue Maya had placed so carefully, at Victoria's books on the shelf next to his, at the drawings taped to the refrigerator, the photos on the wall, the evidence of 3 lives intertwining. "I see us," he said, "growing old together, watching Maya graduate from college, maybe grandchildren someday if we're lucky, quiet mornings, long conversations, years and years of ordinary days that add up to an extraordinary life." "That sounds perfect." "It does." Victoria reached up and touched his face. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For letting me in, for trusting me, for being exactly who you are." Marcus kissed her forehead. "Thank you for seeing me," he said, "when I couldn't see myself." They fell asleep on the couch that night, tangled together like they had been doing it for years. The city lights filtered through the curtains. The apartment was warm and quiet and full. And Marcus Thompson, single father, senior secretary, ordinary man who had learned he was extraordinary, finally understood what it meant to be home. Not a place, not a title, not a destination. Home was showing up. Home was staying. Home was the people who saw you clearly and loved you anyway. He had spent his whole life searching for proof that he mattered. Turns out, the proof had been there all along. In his daughter's trust. In his sister's support. In Victoria's fierce, unwavering belief. In every ordinary day, he had chosen to keep going. That was enough. It had always been enough. And now, finally, he knew it.